Welcome, everyone, to a Friday night edition of When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. Tonight, we're going to highlight stories of just random acts of violence. I often wonder what would provoke someone to just try to harm another person. And these cases range from people getting set on fire to people getting acid thrown into their faces. I found this such horrible, heinous acts to be interesting, and I wanted to just investigate a little bit more about it. We're going to start off with our first story after I show the disclaimer. A New York woman came face to face with the man who threw acid in her face 4 years ago. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Watch the clip.
This brave woman suffered disfiguring injuries after acid was thrown in her face.
My face and body will carry scars for the rest of my life. I no longer have eyebrows or eyelashes or my own eyelids.
Now, Alexandra Dyer is coming face to face with her attacker. It happened when Alexandra Dyer was leaving work. It was 5 p.m. She was walking down this street in Queens, New York to her car. Then she saw a stranger waiting for her. The attack that happened next would change her life forever.
I saw him lunge at me, and then I felt this thrown in my face. And for the briefest second, I thought, why did he throw water on me? And then I was on fire. I was totally on fire.
The liquid was a caustic commercial drain cleaner.
I'm just shrieking. And then I heard a woman screaming, oh my God, she's turning purple. So obviously the lye was doing its job and it was eating my flesh.
Why would a total stranger target the 62-year-old woman? Alexandra Dyer was executive director of a local charity, Healing Arts Initiative, that brought entertainment into nursing homes and hospitals. She discovered that her bookkeeper, Kim Williams, had embezzled $750,000. Police said Williams hired Jerry Mohammed to silence Alexandra before she could go to the authorities.
When did you realize who did this to you?
I knew immediately because when I was in the street shrieking, I kept saying, make sure nothing goes in my mouth, because if I can't speak, I can't tell you who did it. And it was Kim Williams.
You think they were trying to kill you?
I think they wanted me dead.
Mohammed was sentenced today to 17 years behind bars. Kim Williams got the same sentence.
He did not show any remorse.
That was very unfortunate and very disappointing.
Alexandra spent 2 months in the hospital undergoing skin grafts. What impresses everyone who meets her is her unflinching spirit.
I would look in the mirror and I would just ask, where are you, Alexandra? And I couldn't see me. And one day I looked in the mirror and I said, there you are. There you are.
Our next story covers the same topic. Once again, a female is getting doused in the face with acid. And this happened recently, I think 6 months ago.
A mother and father on Long Island are pleading with the public tonight. They want to help police find the person who viciously attacked their daughter. Somebody threw a cup of acid in her face right in their driveway. CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff spoke with the victim, and a word of caution for you. The images of the 21-year-old woman's injuries are graphic.
My whole life changed in a matter of 5 minutes.
Nafia Ikram bravely speaking out after an incomprehensible attack.
We don't realize what we have until it's gone.
What's gone is the life she knew as a Hofstra University student, burns across her face and arms. On March 17th, as she arrived home from work, walking from her car, she saw a man watching from the corner. He ran up to her and threw a cup of liquid in her face.
I started to cry and I was panicking. I was like, Dad, someone threw something in my face, and he was like, oh my God, it's acid.
Acid burns are seared into her Arlington Avenue driveway, as are burns in her eye and throat.
She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And she's still not able to eat properly. She can't see anything. Only one eye is working.
I can just see colors, but that's it. It's been a horrible nightmare for us.
The attack unprovoked. The unrecognizable attacker said nothing.
I want to know, like, what's the reason? Like, what could I have possibly done to somebody?
This is a big question because she don't have any enemy. We don't have any enemy.
We want to find the people that did this terrible, heinous crime.
Celebrity chef Padma Lakshmi and community leaders urging the public to help out law enforcement.
If you know something, say something. If you saw something, say something.
The suspect, 6'2" with a skinny build, fled in a red Nissan Altima. The Ikrams do not believe this was a hate crime, but it has them living in fear.
What happened to her? We are hoping and praying it does not happen to anyone else.
Supporters have set up a GoFundMe, appreciated but of little solace.
No amount of money in this world will replace her vision. Anybody who has a clue, be a human being and come forward.
Nassau police are offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. Community groups are raising money to significantly increase that amount. Of course, all calls remain confidential. In Mineola, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff, CBS 2 News.
This next story comes out of New York. The NYPD is asking for the public's help in finding a woman who was randomly attacked by another woman with bleach on a subway. Bleach was thrown in her face.
Now to a shocking attack on the subway. A woman wanted for throwing bleach into another woman's face on a subway platform in Chelsea. Eyewitness News reporter Diana Rocco has details.
And what has police so concerned is that this attack was unprovoked. The victim was just minding her own business, getting ready to board the one train when she was doused in bleach. A subway bleach attack sends a woman to the hospital, and now police are looking for this woman wearing a black coat and distinctive black and white striped socks seen on surveillance video. Police say she walked up to a woman waiting for the one train at the 14th Street station in Chelsea and threw bleach in her face, then fled the area. It happened around 12:40 Thursday afternoon. Witnesses say the victim was minding her own business, waiting for the train, when the attack left her in shock.
She was messed up, but she didn't say nothing. She kept her mouth shut because I guess she was in shock or something. When it happened, she was like this. If she had said, ah, or screamed or anything, we would have been on her.
The video shows the suspect carrying a water bottle with clear liquid inside. The substance spilled onto people nearby and started taking the dye out of their clothes. From the smell, they could tell it was bleach. The suspect ran. The 37-year-old victim suffered severe burns to her face and was taken to the hospital. This man, who was just feet away when it all happened, says it happened fast.
The woman comes out to me, and she just, why? Bleach or ammonia something. She didn't really catch what you can see. Got my sneakers and everything.
And why is a question that so many are asking. That victim did spend the night in the hospital. Police are asking anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers.
Our next story comes from when someone tries to be a good Samaritan. What happened was a woman was on the bus and she noticed someone getting assaulted. Well, she pulled out her phone and she started videotaping it. Well, then the people that were attacking the person turned and then started attacking her. You have to see this to believe it.
We begin with that violent rampage on a Queens subway. A woman says she was attacked while trying to take video of a couple after an assault on another passenger. And tonight she is speaking exclusively with CBS 2's Dave Carlin.
They were both punching me in the face.
With bruising under an eye, a busted lip, and her arm scratched and bruised, she tells us about the violent attack she suffered on her ride home from Manhattan to Queens on a 7 train Monday afternoon. She's 26 years old and asks we only use her first name, Victoria, and says this is the man and woman who allegedly brutalized her.
Stop!
She says it began when they roughed up another rider.
I wanted to have their picture to give it to the cops.
Her video begins with the suspects at a far end of the train car. The man who was punched and his phone smashed did not appear to know his attackers. Then the duo started walking, directing verbal threats at various people. Then the woman saw Victoria.
She threw the first punch, but they both attacked me. Everybody ran away.
No one helped you?
My phone went flying.
Victoria grabbed her phone, but the two strangers were not done yet.
They both punched me in the face a few more times, and when the doors opened, they ran out of the train.
Recovering from her injuries here in Astoria, she was avoiding the subway until just recently, and she took a single trip that she says was difficult for her emotionally.
A little nerve-wracking, to be honest. A lot of anxiety.
That's scary. I don't think that you should be attacked for that. Clearly the situation was wrong.
It was the right thing to do. Maybe, I don't know if it was worth it, but it was the right thing to do.
She says she took the video in the first place and is speaking up now because she wants them caught.
They shouldn't be walking around.
The suspects were last seen running away from the Queensboro Plaza station. In Long Island City, Dave Carlin, CBS 2 News.
The next story comes out of Washington, D.C., and it involves a man who is literally set on fire, just randomly, out of nowhere. This man was minding his business. Someone walks up to him and sets him on fire.
Now a Fox 5 exclusive, a D.C. man in critical condition after being set on fire. This happened yesterday morning in Northeast. The chief of police calling the crime demonic. You're taking a look at the video. The suspect investigators believe is responsible for a spree of arson fires. Paul Wagner standing by live in Northeast now with the details. Paul.
Yeah, there, Jim. 5 arson fires they believe that this man is responsible for. And I'm now outside this store here, a Boost Mobile store in the 900 block of 8th Street Northeast, where a man was asleep in that corner right over there. It was just after 1 o'clock yesterday morning when the man in the hoodie, carrying a can of what appears to be some kind of flammable liquid, walks up and then within view of the surveillance camera that's mounted just outside the store, lights the man on fire. A caution now, you're not going to see the victim in this case. You're going to see the fire begin to build. Take a look. So it's just after 1 in the morning when the man in the hoodie slowly walks up, takes a look around to see if anyone is watching, and while keeping his eye on the man asleep on the ground, pulls out a lighter and ignites some material. He then bends down and casually sets something on fire. He then takes a can of what appears to be flammable liquid and not once but twice douses the man with it. He then takes off. Now, just out of the frame of the camera, the man on fire gets up and heads into the street. Arriving firefighters found the man and quickly took him to a hospital. The man's belongings, which appear to be some suitcases, were also burned, found in a supermarket cart nearby. Now, according to police, just about 45 minutes before, the same suspect tried to set another man on fire about 5 blocks away, also on 8th Street. Listen now to D.C. Police Chief Peter Newsham.
This is a guy who was intent on hurting people in a very, very demonistic way. And to see, I hope that somebody who's out there watching, I hope you cover this story, can take a look at this photo and let us know who he is so we can ensure that it doesn't happen again. The image that we have of his face is a very, very clear image. I know that a lot of the folks out in our community are understandably distracted by COVID-19, but if they can take a look at this image, if somebody can recognize it and give us a lead, we want to get this guy off the streets.
Now, this man is also suspected of setting a car on fire on Florida Avenue. If you know who he is, call D.C. Police. Back to you guys.
The next story comes out of Seattle, Washington. A man has been arrested after throwing a flaming piece of lumber at a patrol car.
Seattle police, stop, dude! All right, he's going to be in the alley just north of Denny Park. He's just walking down the alley southbound with the stick on fire, and it is very on fire.
Alley north of Denny Park, top left leg, Dexter walking southbound.
Hey, Seattle police, stop! Seattle police, stop, dude!
Shot fired, shot fired. Who's taking me?
Okay, guys, before we close out, I wanted to bring to light that the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine, the CDC has come to an agreement, and they are going to start back up with the Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. I know you guys had heard that they had stopped all giving out of that vaccine due to the blood clot situation. Well, now they're going to resume, so it'll be another choice along with the Pfizer and Moderna for those who choose to get vaccinated. Johnson & Johnson is back on the market, and people are going to get vaccinated with it if you choose to. These next two videos are just talking about the fight against COVID.
President Biden announced yesterday that his administration will soon hit its goal of administering 200 million COVID vaccine doses to Americans in his first 100 days in office. But the milestone does come amid reports of a recent 11% decrease in the number of shots given over the past week. Joining us now to discuss the country's vaccination efforts is Dr. Eric Coy-Pena, emergency room physician and director of global health at Northwell Health. Good to see you, doctor. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Describe how significant this milestone of administering 200 million shots for the president. I mean, it's a tremendous goal. Originally, if you recall, after the inauguration, President Biden said that he hoped to administer 100 million shots by his first 100 days in office. Now we're at 200 million. So talk about that milestone, but also, are you concerned about the declining vaccination rates?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so this is a great milestone. You know, this is kind of what we expected to happen at this stage, is that as the vaccine production scaled up, as states received supply more steadily and were able to kind of more directly plan for large-scale vaccination campaigns, we expected the rate to accelerate. So we're right on target, and that's great. Now what we're seeing is the people that have been very, very eager, that will go to great lengths to get the vaccination, have mostly been vaccinated. And now we're dealing with a second group of people who probably are still in favor of vaccination, but haven't been kind of checking the websites compulsively. You know, will get it when they next have a healthcare appointment. And those are the people we have to do active outreach to make sure that we get them vaccinated as soon as possible. I think that we are definitely in that second stage, though, where we're now dealing with people that aren't opposed to it, but aren't as eager to get it.
And maybe this is connected because we're also learning that a large number of counties around the nation are reportedly declining vaccine shipments after months of many states requesting, more, give us more. What do you make of this? How do we reach those who may be concerned about getting the vaccine?
So I think, we need to have conversations with people. I think that part of even people that are vaccine hesitant, we're all preparing to have, these difficult conversations, to go over the data, to go over the results, to go over what the trials were, to explain the risks and benefits. And I think most reasonable people are going to make a decision to get the shot after that. These mass vaccination sites are really, marketing to people that have already had that kind of discussion in their mind. So one of the things I would encourage people that are on the fence about is call your doctor, call your healthcare professional, have a conversation about it, and if you decide to get it, make an appointment and go. That really is the next step. Is that we need to talk to the people that are that we don't want to just go into a drive-through vaccine center, but want to have a conversation with their healthcare professional, and we need to be doing some active outreach to make sure that happens.
Doctor, the CDC has found no obvious safety signals among pregnant women who got an mRNA COVID shot. That includes the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines. The study does say more comprehensive research is needed. What is your advice to women who are pregnant, and have similar studies been done with Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things we need to understand about pregnancy and the COVID vaccine is there is no evidence that supports any harm. I agree with the CDC that more research is needed. Pregnancy is a tough thing to study when you're doing a vaccine study. But we don't have even a theoretical way that this could harm a fetus or harm a pregnancy. What we do know is that COVID infection is very dangerous during pregnancy and needs to be taken very seriously. So when examining the risks and benefits, I agree that more study is needed, but we haven't been able to find any harm, and there is clear harm with getting COVID. In terms of Johnson & Johnson, the adenovirus vector is a little bit more well studied and well understood, and no other adenovirus vector vaccines have demonstrated any harm in pregnancy.
Sorry for cutting into you there. Scientists who helped develop the Pfizer vaccine says that a third booster shot will be necessary as immunity wanes. Moderna already announced that it plans to have booster shots available by the fall. The Biden administration said last week that it's preparing for the potential need to administer booster shots in the future. So, in your opinion, are we looking at something that, may be akin to the flu shot, where you kind of need to get a yearly shot to maintain your immunity?
I think that's the worst case scenario. I think we need to be very careful in parsing preparing to deliver a booster and the need for a booster. We have not been shown evidence to date that there is a need for a booster vaccine. So far, everybody that's been vaccinated, even in the earliest trials, still have immunity to COVID. So we are preparing for it. And we need to watch the data carefully to see when immunity wanes. But right now, there's no population study that shows a need for a booster. I think it's great that we're preparing to do it, though.
All right, Dr. Eric Choi Pena, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, and in closing, I have one more clip I'm going to show, and it just talks about how healthcare workers are beginning to get burnout. I just want to shout out nurses, doctors, any frontline health workers, anybody that the lab techs, scrub techs, anybody has to do EMS, paramedics, EMTs. I just want to salute you guys for the job that you do, putting your life on the line every day to help those who were stricken with the COVID virus. And just prayers out to anyone who is currently suffering with COVID. And then after that, I want to shout out a couple of content creators, and then we're going to close out.
COVID-19 has taken a heavy toll on many Americans, but especially on healthcare workers. According to a Washington Post and Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 3 in 10 healthcare workers are considering leaving the profession. More than half are burned out, and a majority of them say stress from the pandemic has harmed their mental health. William Won wrote this piece for the Post and joins me now. He is a national correspondent covering health and science. William, thanks for being here. You spoke with several healthcare workers who have been struggling during the pandemic. Mentally, what are they going through?
There's a lot of just very worrisome symptoms we're seeing, everything from burnout to PTSD. Some, admitted drinking more as a way of coping, just exhaustion and apathy about their jobs, just kind of very widespread mental health symptoms that you often see, in soldiers returning from war, in first responders after a especially traumatic event. So some very worrisome signs. The one that's most worrisome, though, is this number, 3 in 10 say they've actually considered quitting. And I talked to several who actually are quitting their jobs, leaving medicine after, sacrificing so much to get into this field.
What did these workers say about our country's healthcare system and what role it's played in their burnout?
Yeah, a lot of them talked about the trauma of the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, you were seeing just very high levels of burnout already. And so what they talked about is how this pandemic has really exposed the cracks in the healthcare. All of these things, healthcare is it's so obviously broken in our country, but the brunt of that brokenness falls on doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, all the way down to, like the administrative staff, just the amount of bureaucracy they deal with. And so a lot of them just talked about like the sense that like of exhaustion, and this system just doesn't work. And they're having to do all of this stuff on top of the trauma of the pandemic that they've been bearing.
William, I thought this was very interesting. A psychiatrist who has counseled dozens of doctors told you, quote, "We need to stop treating them like heroes and start treating them like human beings." I think that will be surprising for a lot of people hearing that, because in my mind, they are heroes. What they have done during this pandemic and continue to do is nothing short of heroic. So why is a psychiatrist saying that we need to move away from this hero thought to thinking about them more as human beings?
Yeah, this is the psychiatrist I talked to. She actually started an entire support line similar to, we have the suicide hotline for just general public. She started one specifically for physicians and doctors. And what she was saying is, a lot of these health workers, they're talking about this feeling of betrayal from the public. They sacrificed so much during this pandemic to save, these people's lives. And so you have this clapping, we all remember the banging of the pots and the hero worship early on in the pandemic. And then, in subsequent months, you saw the public just wide swaths of it, refusing to wear masks, take basic precautions, even if it would spare healthcare workers from like one more traumatic death, one more family they have to kind of walk through the pain and suffering of losing someone to coronavirus. So that kind of betrayal, and I think that is motivating a lot of this this kind of exodus from the field. The other thing is that she and other psychiatrists brought up is, when we talk about doctors and nurses as heroes, we're kind of like putting them up on a pedestal, like the care that they're giving is a one-way street. Whereas, we should really be thinking about health as, the healers need caring as well. It's not just a one-way street. There has to be caring for the people providing that.
Heroic without sacrificing the idea that these are humans that are giving so much of themselves. And William, I've absolutely heard that from the doctors that I've spoken with, how much it hurts them to see people not wanting to wear masks and the frustrations that they've felt at this stage in the pandemic. Speaking of psychiatrists, though, I just want to know, are there enough options for these healthcare workers to get the help that they need?
That's a huge issue. A lot of the experts I talked to noted how after 9/11, you had the commission kind of appointed, the 9/11 commission, you had all these programs and funding. Remember Jon Stewart kind of campaigning very heavily for funding for first responders for years, to treat the kind of the fallout of that. After Afghanistan and Iraq, you had soldiers coming back, and we have the VA and, underfunded, but still significant kind of programs for them, for their mental health. There's nothing like that for the health workers that kind of bore the brunt of this pandemic. And so there's starting to be kind of a push for this. There was some funding included in that relief package that the Biden administration pushed through. That will help, but there's not very much kind of infrastructure in the way that we're talking about that the soldiers or first responders got. We really need that. And so there's small steps like the kind of physician support line and other things that are starting to percolate.
And even just acknowledging that post-traumatic stress or current, it's not even post at this point, it's current traumatic stress that they're facing. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't ask you about with the poll's findings that 3 out of 10 healthcare workers are considering leaving the field because the U.S. was facing a shortage of doctors and nurses even before the coronavirus pandemic. What will happen if, in fact, a large number of healthcare workers end up quitting?
This is a huge concern. Everyone involved in healthcare knows this is like, even before the pandemic, we had a severe nursing shortage coming in coming years and already present in a lot of areas, especially rural ones. There is a doctor shortage already predicted that would be coming in the next 10 years. And so what the pandemic's going to do is it's going to only increase that pressure. And it's this kind of vicious cycle that starts, so you have more people quitting, which puts more pressure on the ones remaining in the field. That kind of burns them out and kind of pushes them toward the door as well. And so there's a lot of concern about this and not enough action because, you can only produce so many doctors and nurses in a year. It takes years to get them into the pipeline and done into the field. And so there's not even enough slots in med schools and nursing schools right now to produce what we need. It's a huge concern, and there needs to be a lot more funding, attention, kind of policy put into this.
William One, thank you so much for your reporting and for sharing these stories with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, guys, real quick before I do my affirmation and I close out, there are some content creators who have been so very gracious with me, and I just wanted to tell them thank you. Madam 81, I think every live stream and upload I've done this week, she shared, and I just want to tell her thank you. Bashful B has shared me. Thank you so much. Treecey, Living My Truth, is an absolutely outstanding content creator. Been nothing but supportive to me, and I just want to tell her thank you so much. I want to thank, I'm trying to think of King Roman News, another outstanding content creator who has been nothing but gracious and helpful to me. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else? Because I don't want to leave anybody else out. Sly Jones as well. Super supportive, outstanding, wonderful content creator. And please, guys, stop by their YouTube channels. Excellent across the board. Each has their own individual content. Check out these content creators because they've been nothing but gracious to me. And I cannot leave this live stream without giving a big shout out to Shikela Dickson. This young lady has just stepped up to the plate as my moderator. She's here on time, making sure everything goes through smoothly. I appreciate you so much. Guys, please check out each one of these individuals. And I'm going to close with my affirmation. I am talented. I am gifted. I am beautiful. I am enough. Take that with you everywhere that you go. Tune in tomorrow night. We're going to continue on with our series on When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. And then, of course, on Sunday, we do our Unsolved Missing and a Broken Justice System. Be blessed.